At the family barbecue, I tried to be light. "I can't wait for our vacation," I said. My dad laughed first. "It's only for family without you." The patio roared. My sister snorted. My mom smiled like it was a joke. I didn't explode. I nodded, stood up, and left my unopened wine on the table. 5 days later, Mom reached for $5,000 she thought was still hers. One tap later, the account had a new name and their group chat had a new problem. Stay with me. This story doesn't end where they thought it would. Because before that barbecue, before the laughter, and the $5,000, there were years of smaller cuts. Little things I kept excusing because they were family. I teach 4th grade. My life is quiet lesson plans, cafeteria coffee, the smell of dry erase markers that never quite leaves your clothes. My weekends were always for them. I'd drive 40 minutes to fix a Wi-Fi router, pay for a plumber they couldn't afford, or pick up groceries when their card unexpectedly declined. They'd thank me post-family photos and somehow forget to tag me. The truth is, I used to love being useful. It made me feel needed. But somewhere along the way, being needed turned into being used. Emily noticed first. She's calm, practical, the kind of person who plans vacations with spreadsheets. Last spring, she said, "You realize they only call when something breaks, right?" I laughed it off. I told her she didn't understand how families work. I said guilt was our love language. She didn't find it funny. Then came Colorado. A 3-day cabin trip, cheap, quiet, a break from grading papers and phone calls that always started with Zoey. I didn't post a single photo, but my cousin did. One picture of me and Emily smiling against the snow. That's all it took. 2 days later, the text started. Tara, first, "Wow, must be nice to forget your family." Then Matt, "You've changed." And my mother's message that sounded sweet but stung harder than any insult. "We've always been there for you, but when you get time off, you run away like we don't exist." They turned a weekend getaway into a betrayal. By the end of the week, I was the villain in their story, the selfish daughter who left them behind. Emily told me not to go to that barbecue, said it felt like a setup. But when Mom called her voice bright, promising it would be just family, I believed her. I always do. That Sunday, I brought a bottle of red wine. Something decent, not fancy. I even practiced how to sound casual, how to say sorry without actually apologizing. I told myself maybe this was the moment things went back to normal. I didn't know then that normal had already shifted. I didn't know that the same people smiling at me across the picnic table were waiting to humiliate me in stereo. But I should have known. Because every time they said just family, what they really meant was without you. The smell of grilled meat still makes my stomach twist. That day the air was thick with smoke and something else expectation. My dad was at the grill, tongs in hand, acting like it was any other Sunday. Matt leaned against the cooler, already on his second beer. Tara scrolled through her phone like she was too bored to exist. Mom set the table, humming. When I walked in with the wine, no one looked surprised. But no one said hello either. "Hey," I said, forcing a smile. "Looks great out here." "Yeah," Dad replied without looking up. "We started early." Translation: "You're late." I sat down, trying to ignore how quiet it felt, like everyone was waiting for a cue. Mom slid a plate in front of me. So she said, "How's Emily?" "She's good," I said, hoping that would be enough. It wasn't. "That's nice." She smiled thinly. No follow-up question, just silence, the kind that spreads and swallows whole conversations. I glanced at Matt, tried to ask about his new job. He grunted. Tara snorted. The laughter that followed wasn't loud, but it was sharp. I laughed along, pretending not to notice the edge in their tone. And then I said it. The sentence that would detonate everything. "I can't wait for our vacation." It was supposed to be small talk, light, harmless. Dad froze for half a second, then laughed that deep, fake laugh he uses when he's about to say something cruel. "It's only for family without you." The patio erupted. Matt slapped his knee. Tara wheezed. Mom raised her wine glass, smiling like it was a toast. For a moment, I just sat there. My ears rang. The world narrowed down to the sound of ice clinking in glasses. I thought maybe someone would say it was a joke. Maybe Dad would wink. Maybe Mom would scold him. But no one did. It was deliberate. They wanted to see if I'd break. I didn't. I looked around the table, my family, every one of them laughing like my exclusion was entertainment. I felt heat crawl up my neck, then something colder realization. This wasn't the first time they'd humiliated me, but it was the first time I saw it for what it was. A performance. They needed me to stay small, apologetic, useful, and the easiest way to keep me there was to remind me that no matter what I gave, I'd never really belong. So I gave them what they didn't expect. Silence. I nodded once, calm. Got it, I said, my voice steady. Then I stood up, left the bottle of wine untouched on the table, and walked away. The laughter faded behind me, replaced by the buzz of cicadas and the dull thud of my heartbeat. In the car, I sat for a long time before turning the key. My hands were trembling not from anger, but from something sharper, clarity. I had spent years paying their bills, covering their gaps, fixing their chaos. And in one sentence, they told me exactly where I stood. Outside. By the time I got home, my phone was already buzzing with messages. You know Dad was kidding, right? Don't be dramatic. You always ruin things. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the banking app, the joint account I had stupidly left active after years of helping with their emergencies. The balance blinked back at me. I thought about closing it right then, but I didn't. Not yet. Some part of me wanted to see how far they'd go once they realized I wasn't reacting. It didn't take long. 5 days later, my phone lit up with a new notification. Withdrawal attempt, $5,000. That was the moment the humiliation turned into something else. Something quiet, sharp, and certain. If they wanted me out of the family, I'd give them what they asked for. Completely. The notification sat on my screen like a punchline. Withdrawal attempt, $5,000. Same joint account, same card I opened years ago when Mom said she just needed help with utilities. I should have closed it ages ago. But guilt has a way of keeping doors unlocked. I stared at the number until the screen dimmed. My coffee went cold. Somewhere between the barbecue and this moment, something in me had gone still. No yelling, no panic, just a clean, steady line inside my chest. I called the bank first, blocked the card, I said, my voice calm. Immediately, the rep asked if I wanted to file fraud. I almost laughed. No, I said, it's family. When the confirmation email arrived, I reopened the app. The account name blinked at the top family fund. I pressed edit, deleted every letter. Then I typed 3 words, pay without me. For a moment, I just looked at it, the phrase that summed up years of guilt and small humiliations. I hit save. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Mom, hey, did you touch the account, Dad? Your mother made a mistake. Fix it. Tara, haha. Matt, seriously, what's your problem? I didn't reply. Instead, I took a screenshot of the account name, the failed transaction, and sent it to the group chat. No caption, no explanation. Then I put my phone face down and went for a walk. The air was heavy with that sticky, late summer heat, but my mind felt clear. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't rehearsing apologies in my head. I wasn't planning how to make things right. I was just done. When I got back, the group chat had exploded 40 messages deep. Mom wrote, "This is ridiculous. We needed that money for the holidays. Dad, after everything we've done for you, Tara Elmeo, you're actually insane. Matt, grow up, Zoey." I read every word, then archived the chat. Not deleted, just folded away like a document I might someday show a lawyer. Emily found me sitting on the couch, legs tucked under a blanket, staring at the dark phone screen. She didn't ask what happened, she just said, "You finally did it, didn't you?" I nodded. "Yeah." I stopped paying for people who never saw me as part of the bill. Outside, thunder rolled low and slow across the sky. Inside, my phone vibrated again, another wave of messages I didn't care to read. They wanted chaos. I gave them silence. That's the thing about revenge. Not every explosion is loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet click, followed by the sound of everything you owe finally disappearing. By the next morning, the panic had bloomed. When I checked my phone before work, I had 16 missed calls and a string of messages that bounced between outrage and desperation. The family group chat had turned into a battlefield of accusations, each of them blaming someone else for losing control of the account. Mom claimed she didn't know the withdrawal was that large. Dad wrote, "This is petty, Zoey. You're embarrassing yourself." Tara posted a crying, laughing emoji followed by a screenshot of the rejection notice from the bank, like it was some kind of family meme. I muted the thread. By lunchtime, Mom showed up outside my classroom. The secretary buzzed me. "There's a Mrs. Brooks here," she said. "Says it's urgent." I stepped into the hallway, heart steady. Mom was standing there holding her purse like it was a prop in a play she'd rehearsed. "You blocked the card?" She asked, her voice soft, trembling in all the right ways. "Yes." She blinked fast, trying for tears that wouldn't come. "We just needed it for the holidays." I folded my arms. "You tried to take $5,000 without asking me. It was for us, for the family." I smiled small. "You said I wasn't family, remember?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She wasn't expecting that. "Zoey," she said finally, "you're overreacting. You're being cruel." That word cruel landed harder than the laughter ever did. For years they'd taken and called it love. Now me saying no was cruelty. "I have to get back to class," I said. "You should go." Her voice cracked on my name, but I walked away before I could start to care again. That night, I came home to Emily setting out takeout containers on the counter. "You okay?" she asked. I shrugged. "They're unraveling." She smiled faintly. "Good." But it didn't stop there. 2 days later, I came home to my apartment door slightly ajar. My first thought was that I'd forgotten to lock it. My second thought, when I heard voices inside, was worse. Mom and Dad were standing in my living room. Tara sprawled on the couch, shoes off, scrolling her phone, a half-eaten bag of chips on the coffee table. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Mom turned with that same practice calm. "You weren't answering." "Because you tried to steal from me," I said. Dad stepped forward, voice heavy with mock authority. "Watch your tone. We're still your parents. Then act like it." He scoffed. "You've changed. Ever since you started dating her." Emily froze at the doorway, holding the takeout bag like a shield. "You broke into his apartment," she said evenly. "That's not okay. This is family business," Mom snapped. I felt the last thread of patience snap. "No," I said. "This is trespassing." They didn't move. Tara laughed softly without looking up. "You're such a drama queen." I walked to the door, opened it wide. "Get out, Zoey, now." Mom's eyes narrowed, cold replacing the sweetness. "You're going to regret this. I already did," I said and shut the door behind them. The silence after they left felt sacred. Emily sat on the couch, shoulders tense. "They're not going to stop," she said. "I know." That night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my mother's sister, Denise, the family's black sheep. When she answered, she didn't sound surprised. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. She invited me over that same evening. Her small house smelled like cedar and old books. Before I could speak, she handed me a folder thick with papers. "Your mother's been manipulating people for years. You're just the latest." Inside were records, payments, old transfers, even hand-signed notes from the time she'd borrowed money from Denise and never repaid a cent. $10,000 for a roof repair in 2012. Another $5,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be a Caribbean cruise. I felt sick. "She said you were unstable," I murmured. Denise laughed. "Of course she did. It's easier to erase the truth when everyone thinks you're crazy." We spent hours comparing stories. The patterns matched perfectly. Borrow, lie, guilt, repeat. "I can help you," she said, pouring wine into 2 mismatched glasses. "But if we do this, you have to be ready for them to hate you." I smiled for the first time all week. They already do. The next few days were a quiet storm. Denise's friend, someone who worked in financial compliance, helped me sever every tie I had with my parents, accounts, emergency contacts, insurance. I closed the last joint account, then sent one message to the family chat, a screenshot of the zero balance under the name, "Pay without me." No caption, just silence. Matt responded first. "What the hell is this?" Tara followed. "You're losing it." Mom called 6 times in an hour. I didn't answer. The next morning, I woke to find my phone vibrating nonstop. Denise had posted something old photos of my parents in casinos sipping cocktails, timestamps overlapping the months they'd claimed to be broke. She didn't tag them. She didn't have to. Within minutes, cousins were texting me asking if it was true. My father's sister messaged, "You've humiliated your mother." I just stared at the screen, feeling none of the guilt they were trying to hand me. That evening, my mother appeared again, this time on my doorstep with her brother Brian. He stood behind her like muscle arms, crossed sunglasses on, though it was almost dark. She looked tired, strategically tired. "We came to talk," she said. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You shouldn't be here." Brian jumped in. "You embarrassed the family. That post was out of line." I almost laughed. "Out of line is trying to drain my account." "She made a mistake," he snapped. "She made a choice," I corrected. Mom lifted her hands in mock surrender. "We just want peace." We canceled the trip. We thought maybe we could start over. The same game. Pretend it never happened. Reset the board. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said. "If you show up again uninvited, I'll file a report." Brian scoffed. "You'd threaten your own mother." I met his stare. "No, I'm protecting my life." Mom's expression shifted shock, then pity, then contempt. "You've changed," she said, as if it were the worst thing imaginable I said, quietly. "And I'm not sorry." They walked away without another word. The porch light buzzed above me. Inside, Emily waited by the window, eyes searching my face. "It's not over," I told her. "They'll come back." I was right. 2 days later, an email arrived from the school district, notice of concern, immediate acknowledgement required. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint claiming I was emotionally unstable and creating a hostile classroom environment. I read it twice, then looked up at Emily. "They found a new way to attack." She took my hand. "Then we find a new way to end it." And this time, I knew exactly how. I didn't waste a second. I called Denise, forwarded the complaint, and waited while she read. "Anonymous." "Huh," she said. "Give me a day." By the next afternoon, she called back. "Got her," she said simply. "Your sister's college, IP, no VPN, amateur hour. Relief didn't come all at once. It came in waves." I brought everything, emails, messages, screenshots, to a lawyer Denise recommended. Her name was Clara, calm and sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who didn't blink at family drama dressed as fraud. She flipped through the pages and said, "We'll start with a no-contact order. Temporary at first, then permanent." It was like exhaling after years of holding my breath. Within a week, the school board cleared my name. HR apologized quietly. My principal told me to take a few days off, paid of course. I said thank you, but what I meant was finally. Mom tried to call once more. I didn't answer. Then came a final message. "You'll regret cutting us out. Family is forever." I deleted it. That night, Emily and I packed boxes. We found a new place, 2-bedroom sunlight, that actually reached the floor, a kitchen window overlooking a park. When the keys turned in the new lock, I felt something loosen in my chest that had been tight for years. Denise came by with pizza and cheap wine. As we ate on the floor, she said, "You know, they'll probably keep talking. They always need someone to blame." I smiled. Let them. I'm not in the story anymore. Later, when the last box was unpacked, I opened my banking app one last time. The account still read, "Pay without me." I didn't change it back. It wasn't revenge anymore, it was a reminder that silence can be louder than shouting, that walking away can echo more than any argument. For the first time in my life, I slept through the night. No calls, no buzzing phone, no guilt, just peace paid in full. 2 months later, I stopped checking their group chat altogether. Actually, I didn't just mute it, this time I deleted it. No final message, no goodbye, just gone. The quiet was strange at first. No more fake emergencies, no more guilt disguised as love. The kind of silence that once felt heavy now felt like freedom. On a Friday night, Emily and I sat on the balcony of our new apartment, a pizza box between us, cheap wine in our hands. The city lights flickered below, warm and distant. "You ever think they'll apologize?" she asked. I shook my head. "They'd have to believe they did something wrong." She smiled. "Then I guess you already won." I looked down at my phone. No missed calls, no unread messages, just the words I'd left behind in that frozen account, "Pay without me." For once, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. They said I wasn't family. Maybe they were right, because family shouldn't make you beg to belong. So tell me, if the people who call you family keep taking until there's nothing left, would you finally make them pay without you?